I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is from Austin, Texas in the United States. He works for Accenture as a senior manager in business integration and architecture. He's in his second year of being an MVP. That's totally awesome. He's one of the leaders of the Austin user group. You can find him on Twitter at Uday, how do you say your last name?
Adhikari.
Adhikari. There you go. I was meant to ask you that before we started. Uday Adhikari. Welcome to the show, Uday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Good to have you on. And you know, to meet somebody new in the community, I find is always an absolute buzz to find out about you and your journey. Before we get into your tech story and your MVP story and things like that, tell us a bit about your family.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to share that. So I'm originally from Nepal, currently residing in, Nepal, Kathmandu. There's song, mountains, right? Everything, lots of small country.
I love it. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then have been living in Austin I came here for actually master's in order to come to USA. That's the easiest way, right? At the back in the old days, coming with a job now is easier, but in like 20, 25 years ago, I know I'm kind of outdating myself here, and but it's okay. It's all right. It's all good. You get wiser as you get older, so I believe in that for sure.
Agreed.
Came about 22 years ago to do my master's, and then I had an uncle here in Austin, and like, hey, this place is kind of getting crazy. You should come here. And I came here and just started working for a company, and then rest the history. And so I got married here, met my wife. She's also from Nepal, and we have 2 kids. And it keeps us busy. Definitely lots of fun.
When we think about Nepalese food, your favorite, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. There's a type of dumplings that you make. It's you ground meat with lots of spices, and then you wrap around like a tortilla, right? We call it roti back home. And so they're called momos, and they are delicious. I mean, you can make veggie, you can make vegan, you can make meat. I prefer meat, but they are super tasty. And my wife makes them. So those are my kids also love them. So it's definitely fun.
So are they kind of fried, or are they boiled, or how are they done the final finish?
You could do both. We usually do steam, and then we have like a chutney, like sauce you put on top. And so steam, but then also sometimes if you're tired of eating steam momos, and then you steam first, and then you fry.
Nice. Do in Nepalese food, is it traditionally very spicy? Is there a lot of spice? And when I say spicy, I'm talking about heat in the spice. Yeah,
it's very similar to Indian kind of culture. A lot of the food you'll find a lot of similarities in there. The rice is the big portion of the meal, right? So lots of carb, and then they also have like a lentil, like a soup. And the spice wise, it all varies. I would say more on the mild side than more on the spicy side.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, just getting hungry here thinking about it.
I know, right?
when you're not working, what do you do for fun outside family?
Yeah, if I'm not working, my kids are super active. They play soccer, where the rest of the world, even back then, right, I used to call football, but now I have to kind of blend here, so I call soccer. They play at a competitive level, even though they are very young. They play at a club level, and so that definitely that keeps us busy all the time. And then lately, I got to do something for myself too, and so I picked up road biking, the race road biking with a smaller wheel, about 3-4 years ago, and I'm training for ride. It's actually for fundraising also, end of this month, and that keeps me busy on basically family and then a little bit of bike ride.
Nice. Send us the link for that bike ride, and so that if you're fundraising, if someone wants to help out, perhaps they could do that, and we'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome.
Tell me about, you talked about coming into the US to do your master's. Was that straight away in the area of technology, computers, that type of thing, or what was your journey ultimately to now in Microsoft Power Platform space? How did you get here?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. Actually, I meant to kind of share this. So when I was growing up, I was I would say that I'm lucky in a sense that even though I was grown, brought up, my dad never left the country. He was more there. But my uncles, they were already here in the US. They came in like 40-45 years ago. And so they will come and they guided me, and they will say, dude, you got to do this. This is kind of getting better here. And eventually I know you're coming here. So focus on computers. And so early on in the college, even though I'm from Nepal, but I went to India to do my engineering undergrad. So, and from there, came here for my master's, and they kind of helped me sort of a little bit easier, made it easier for me because I already knew what I wanted to do down the road, right? So I had already seen the path where I wanted to be, and it made it easier. Constantly, I'm just shooting for that and kind of building on top of that, right? Okay, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. Okay, I'm here now. What? And so that's how I kind of started.
Nice. And so, when I ask people how did they get involved in Microsoft Dynamics 365 or the Power Platform, there's kind of like a pivotal point. It might have been a project was assigned or something like that. What's your pivotal point?
Yeah, so my background is my background. Let me talk a little bit about my background. So in the initial days, I was doing a lot of web development using classic ASP, JavaScript, like basically using a notepad, right? And then then moved on to .NET. So pre-dev, I have a pro-dev background. Even like Crystal reports, early in the early days, I definitely wrote a bunch of Crystal reports, Access applications, and then slowly kind of moved over to SharePoint, logical feed. I found that SharePoint was, and so SPS, WSS 3.0, 2.0, the SharePoint framework was lately now, right? And before you would have to do on WSS all the foundation, not the server version. And I know I'm mixing it up, but that's my background. So SharePoint 2003 is when we customized very heavily. You remember the recycle bin wasn't there up until MOS, right, which is SharePoint 2007. And so we actually wrote a custom tool to get that item that you need from a backup. So, and when it was there, people don't understand how big that recycle bin feature was, right? When it was announced, when it was deployed, whoa, that solves a lot of problems, right? The headache, go find the tape, back it up, site collection, find that one item, then surface it into wherever it needs to go to. Oh, this is not the version I was looking for. Do again, like the cycle, lots of that time, right? People don't realize the benefit that one recycle bin had a big impact on how business works. So build on that, and then the pivotal point for me was I used to work for a company here based in Austin, where Reza used to work too. Where Reza Durrani is still there. And he was also SharePoint, and I was also doing SharePoint. He's in Houston, I'm in Austin. Every once in a while, we'll have some collaboration. And then all of a sudden, he was like, "Hey, Power Platform is really good. You should learn. I'm the only one here. Let's piggyback and just grow this business within the company." And then I was like, "Yeah, sure. What is it? Show me." And then at that time, he had already been like 4 or 5 months or so. And anything he wanted to kind of try out, we would try different things. Like, obviously, if you collaborate, you learn faster, right? And so it was definitely, he's basically got me into Power Platform. And then my boss was like, "Hey, we have a project that's coming up. You need to go to Houston and go into app in a day and come back. And then Wednesday, you go app in a day in Houston. And Thursday, Friday, you learn whatever you want to learn. Monday, you're going to a client." I was like, "Seriously? Oh, that's pretty kind of ambitious, but you know what? Sure, yeah, I'll go there. I'll learn. I'll come back." Luckily, Reza was there to kind of help me out, and so with him, I was on that project and learn a lot from him. Obviously, I still do. We try to keep in touch, and then rest is history. That was back in 2018 when I kind of jumped into SharePoint. I mean SharePoint, not SharePoint. Sorry, Power Platform.
That's a phenomenal story, and great to see another member in the community helping you in that path. From Reza there. That's great. Such a good story. What area? The Power Platform is such a big thing, right? And it's always growing, always expanding. We get our 2 wave releases each year with new features, functionality dropping. In all the tool sets that you have available, kind of what area do you specialize in, any particular area, or are you just broadly across everything?
So it comes in cycle. One area I focus heavily, and then step out and say, "Okay, what do we need to do on?" Because they all have interconnected, right? You cannot just stay in one, and you cannot be an expert. You cannot claim that because you would be missing out. It needs to be done in a combination, right? You may need Power Apps and Power Automate always, but there might be an opportunity for PBA. Portal is the only one that I have not played a lot. In the beginning, I did, but other things, there's so many things that needs to be like RPA within Power Automate, right? That's another big that I kind of go in a pretty deep down there.
Okay, so you go deep in RPA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is going to be good. This is going to be good because tell me just give me 3 use cases with specifically, don't tell me who the customer is or anything like that, but tell me what were you harvesting from? What was the system, right? Because it's obviously a system with out an API, and of course a website could be that system. But tell me, give me 3 use cases. What were they, and how you use RPA, just a high level, and the outcomes.
Yeah, this is not, it's previous, from previous companies' experience is, one is, how the warranty cars, you have to claim the warranty. And actually, let me take a step back on that one. I'll do the salvage car first. When the car is salvaged, like damaged, and people have to submit proof, right? The car is salvaged or not. There are publicly available 3 or 4 sites. Anytime vehicles are salvaged, they go into, somehow there is a entity that gathers data and puts it in the public domain for everyone to see. And so what we did as part of that was, and then with the VIN number in the USA, you can identify vehicle, right? It's like a personal identifier. Each vehicle will have the identifier called VIN number. And so you plug that in. And so if somebody is claiming that this vehicle was salvaged, right? And then we can use that VIN number, go into that website, search for the VIN number, and there will be a bunch of images that you find. And using AI Builder, you go and find the VIN number and you match it and say, "Oh, yeah, this vehicle was already salvaged. This is fraud," and alerts it, right? So we cannot pay any payment on it. That was one. Another on the financial system was every day, basically, this loan officer would come and see what they will look at their account to see what accounts are overdue, past due, right? There's some basically escalation type. And they were spending, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 minutes every day. And so, well, instead of that, we just automate using RPA and then see for each loan officer, let's say 100, you're saving 100 times 700 minutes and down to maybe 30 seconds they can scan. So they don't have to look at all of the customers. They only have to look at the one that were exception, right? I mean, escalation, and then trigger an email or whatever it needs to be done.
So the system you were, was that just like a bespoke application that, that you were scraping that information from? Or was it like a well-known, was it an Oracle solution or, something else?
The first one was obviously web. Basically, you can call, I hate the word scraping, but it is what it is, right? And the second one was a legacy system. There's the loan origination system, the SAP, right? There's a couple of different systems integration with there.
That's so cool. So cool. I love that. I love the practicality of what you're talking about, that it was, and often I find RPA outcomes are around saving heaps of time, right? It's about productivity, massive improvement. I like it. Tell me about becoming an MVP.
All right, so I wouldn't say I started being from Nepal when I came in. Maybe technically I was good, but language-wise, right? I didn't fit in because I didn't talk this language. This is not my mother tongue. I went to English medium, but it is more on the British side. Even on the British side, my English is, I still work. I still have to work hard to make it better every day, right? So the tone, the style wasn't for me. And so it would be hard for me to understand. It would be hard for them to understand me, right? It was both ways. And so early on, since I was on the .NET interested, I would go to, it's called Austin.NET user group, 2001, early on. I would just go, I would say, you know what, this is fairly new. I want to learn and I want to network with other people to see for job opportunities, right? If they're looking. So I would go there, I would sit in the back and I would not say a word. Listen, I probably understood 20% of it. Technical side I did, but again, these are user group meetings and they're talking and I would probably understand 20-30% of it. And then I'll come back and then, okay, I'm going to go next month also. And I'm going to ask one question. Whatever it is, people will laugh. If it's a stupid question, whatever it is, I have to stand up. I have to ask one question, build my confidence. Nothing. It happened for 3, 4 months, 5 months. And finally I said, if I'm not asking any questions, I'm not going home. Right. I told myself. And then I just asked whatever, I don't even know what question was that. It could be like, hey, when is the next event or something, right? I don't care what it was. I just wanted to talk. All right. And so it started that way. And then slowly kind of went in. I said, hey, how can I help from the presenting side of it, but any other, like maybe there's an administrative side of it, right? That way I get to talk with more people. Right? I can build my confidence. So slowly started doing that. And then fast forward to 2010, 2012, SharePoint, I was very involved. We helped host, like SharePoint Saturdays was big back in the days. We hosted a couple of those, helped the SharePoint user group meeting, presented. And the first thing that I did was lightning talk, because it's not an hour long, hour, 15 minutes. Lightning talk would give a good opportunity for anyone who wants to go and talk, right? So anyone listening, if you are kind of shy or if you're kind of afraid about talking for an hour, just pick a topic, talk for 5-10 minutes, have few slides, and then out, right? That's how I build my confidence. And then like, well, I loved it. I can do this, right? I had that. And then I started presenting on user groups and kind of hosted multiple events.
And I take it out of that, you got nominated and got awarded the MVP.
Nomination was back in not in the last company before Accenture. I was doing basically I was traveling everywhere and I was doing app in a day a whole bunch, and the community Power Apps community user call. I was responding to answer questions, right, and then constantly getting involved, and also Chuck Sterlings is the one who kind of nominated me. And the day I still remember, it was July 21st or 22nd of 2020. And I was just working a little bit late at the time and then saw this email and I screamed, right? I was not expecting anything. Out of the blue, I see this nomination. I probably screamed for like 5 minutes. My family were all, my wife, kids were, what happened? What happened? Are you okay? Are you okay? I was like, yes, this is what happened. So that was that was the happiest day for sure.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.